For making time and for joining us. It is a new year and hoping that the new year 2018 is coming along quite well from where you are. My name as always is Eugene Nango, and it's great to have you on the program. Now, tonight on the program, we are actually putting a focus on a very important matter, and that is the issue of breaking silence. Breaking silence on matters related to sexual violence. And of course, the question we're asking ourselves tonight is, why is it that most cases go unreported? This is the question we're asking ourselves tonight on the program. We'd love to hear your thoughts concerning this matter. Share them with us. Use the hashtag InFocusRW if you're tweeting us, and I'll be able to sample some of those tweets in the course of the program, and we'll be able to read them right here on the program. We all understand that over the past few days, there's been a Twitter storm concerning the coming out of several ladies who have come out to actually claim that they were violated. And of course, we'll also be taking some minutes to talk about that right here on the program. We also want to make it clear that there is one of the alleged victims of rape who we were supposed to have on the program, that is Lisa, who will not be joining us on the program because of our extensive consultation, and due to our editorial decision, we have decided that due to the sensitivity of the matter, we will not be able to have her on the program because the case is actually reportedly being investigated, and so we will not be able to have her on the program just for the sake of ensuring that we are balanced on this matter. But we'll be able to talk about these matters right on the program. So let me introduce our panelists on the program. We have none other than Florida Mutamuliza from Profem Twesehamwe. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Also with us is Dr. William, who is also a general. Thank you so much for joining us. You are the Director General of the Gisenyi Hospital. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Now, before we get even deeper in this particular conversation, during the intro, I did talk about the noise that was going on social media concerning, the coming out of the ladies who alleged that they had been raped. Some cases going back to as late as 2012. I'd love to hear your take, first of all, Florida, as a person working with an organization that aims at supporting women and ensuring that their development is actually catered for. Tell me, first of all, what is your thought concerning the decision to go out on social media when others were actually arguing and saying, no, they should have gone through the legal channels, the proper channels, in quotes. What is proper channel for you, and do you agree and do you accept the decision to go out on social media?
Well, as said, I'm from Profam, and it's better to go through the channels, the referral channels, from the time the incident happened to the reporting to the local authorities, then to the health centers, to the district hospitals. That's normally what we call the local channels, because it helps the victim to generate evidence. There are also other channels. There is police. We also, at Profam, we have a desk where we have a counselor and a lawyer. We also have a free line. I also take this opportunity to inform the public that we have a line of 5454, where they can call direct. It's free, and they get all the necessary services. The services that we cannot offer at the time, we refer the victims where they can get them from. But at the same time, people going around the media to report their cases. In my view, it's better you report when it has just happened. It is always said that justice delayed is justice denied. Because if you were raped, for example, in 2012, and you are reporting now, there are high chances that you will not get the evidence. And when you don't have concrete evidence, you may not get justice, because people in the justice sector will not have a basis to help you get justice. Right. However, in the psychological part of it, though I'm not a psychologist, I think when somebody talks of what happened to her in life, it's a healing process. But again, if the person is saying or airing it out after many years, it requires to follow up the channel. Could there be some evidence? Did that person go to the hospital? Do they have, for example, let me give you an example. By any chance, is there something like a picture which they could have taken that shows that at least they were together? So, but it can happen that the person gets justice, but what I can tell you, it's tricky if it has taken a long time.
It might take a long time.
Yes.
Right.
Though I do agree that in one or another, it's more of a healing process because the person is talking about what happened to her in life.
Right. Major Dr. William, I mean, she talks of the available platforms, the police, the doctors, including a toll-free line that they have. The police also has the same. Now, the fact that we are seeing most of the victims, or even survivors for that matter, coming out through other channels that are not traditional channels, does this speak out that there's a sense of failure in the traditional channels to actually create that platform or opportunity for coming out and breaking this silence?
Thank you, Anangwe. I think, first of all, Rwanda is among the countries that has these channels, maybe the best even in Africa. From the community level to the cell level, to the level of the hospital, health centers, we have a really perfect and interacting system of referral of victims of rape, even other victims of other violence, even battering and other things. I personally believe a true case of rape, first of all, is affected psychologically, is affected physically, and also is affected in the healthy sense of it. If someone is really raped, it's so difficult to really keep it for a long time, first of all, because the long time of keeping it probably can lose evidence. And what I'm saying, in Rwanda, we have that system where a victim from the community level to the hospital level, a victim can come and get all those services. The reason of those services that are available, and it is a policy for the Rwandan government and the Ministry of Health. This policy started in 2007, and it has been going on. For instance, all the hospitals in Rwanda now, around 46 of them, they have got Isanje one-stop centers. And the beauty of these services, they are free of charge. We don't charge anybody who has experienced or gone through a rape incident. And that means the systems are there. But the question is, why should one prefer to use social media to put asunder or proclaim that someone has raped her?
Right. Do you have an answer for that?
So the reason is, probably, as a medical doctor, I think a true case of rape is really is a traumatic experience that someone cannot just lay and keep with it for a long time. People who are truly raped, they tend to come out as fast as it has happened. Probably those who really we find them hiding such cases are the people maybe who are raped by family, relatives, and friends, you know, who are so close to them. So that sometimes they feel a lot of shame to bring it out. But when you look at these social issues where people take a case of rape to a social media, and after a long time, for sure, Anangwa will tell you, you cannot produce evidence in such a case. Because as doctors, what we do, we take samples, we look at the physical evidences that might be led to the rape, including the clothes, the hair, the marks on the body, including even physical handling, the scratches from the nails, the clothes, and everything else.
So if all this is lost over these years?
If this is lost, and you cannot have a sample, whether it be biological sample, a physical sample, we cannot help. And this is, I think, the Rwandans, we have been telling them for now a decade about these issues, that they should be able to produce these evidences as soon as the case happens.
Right.
If you don't do that, you risk to lose the case.
You risk lose the case. Let me hear from Florida again. I mean, the reality is that we still have people who will not report immediately. This is sort of the trend we've even seen in Hollywood, where cases are still coming out today that happened many years ago. But what we're looking for is the inner peace as well, and of course, ultimately justice. Right, the incident has happened to this particular lady, for instance. Now, how do they heal, the healing process? But as they heal, you said that probably the speaking many years later, sometimes for others it may not be about seeking justice, but just getting it out and saying that, oh my God, it's out. I didn't know I could talk about it, but I've finally spoken about it. And so the healing process begins. But let's talk about that ultimate feeling that this is gone, even if I will not be able to produce the evidence that is much needed. How do you help such people from your institution?
Well, before we even talk about that, let's see. There are many factors why people or why victims not speak out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, even if we have the channels that we mentioned, there are other issues. Some of them, it's just because the nature of the society that we have. Mm-hmm. Let me give you an example. For the married people, if they are raped, mm-hmm. they fear what the perception of the society. They think the society is going to condemn them, that they have been part of the whole situation. Mm. For the young people, let me call them the teenagers, most of the time it's either with their uncles, their cousins, the long-time friend neighbors, some of them with their parents who have had such scenarios. And also, there's also the nature of patriarchal system, where the society gives men power than women. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. If, for example, a school-going girl is impregnated, the society will say, for example, she was part of it, she will leave school and all the other things that she's been doing. But the boy who impregnated her, or the man in that case, will continue with the business. Mm-hmm. However much you say, the father, if in case of the father is taking the kid, but there's justice lost alongside the way.
Yes.
Because the girl is no longer going to school, where the boy who is impregnated her, regardless whether they have the same age or the boy is even older, he will not be brought to justice sometimes, because the society thinks the boy is immovable. I mean, that's how the society takes it.
But that is not Rwanda, no? I mean, this is a country where we've
yes.
all heard about the women empowerment, gender equality, strength of a woman. These are not cases in Rwanda.
Women empowerment, as I said, the structures are there and they're very clear. The government is very supportive. As my colleague said, mm-hmm. we could be among the best countries. Mm-hmm. But go down. Mm-hmm. Go down. Because when we speak, we are not speaking about these people who are in Kigali, mm-hmm. who have some knowledge, but we are also speaking about a girl in the village, let me call it. Mm-hmm. She does not have the same knowledge. Mm-hmm. Her neighbors do not have the same knowledge, like the knowledge you have, mm-hmm. knowing that women empowerment, mind you, women empowerment is a process. We are not yet there.
Not yet there.
Though we have achieved a lot, but we cannot sit down and say, we have got there, we should keep quiet.
Right.
So when I come back, you said, how can those people get justice? How do we help them? As I told you, ProFarm is an umbrella organization. It has 57 member organizations. We have a free call, toll free. We have a counselor, we have a lawyer. For a person who is in the healing process, it's not about reporting once. It's not about meeting the counselor once. Depending on the case, it's a process. Mm-hmm. You meet once, 2 times, 5 times until the person is helped to heal. Again, within our member organization, we also have some member organizations like Haguruka who are very much oriented in the justice sector. We also work together and ensure that at least somebody gets justice, because justice, when somebody gets justice, it's also part of healing.
Right.
So we work with all those member organizations. We also advocate to different UN, for example, the government, the district authorities, say, come here. Even if we still have a society that still believes that in one or another, a woman should keep quiet. But UN authority, please come up, help this person, orient them, educate these girls. And I cannot stop talking about, though we are talking about response, Anyangwe, I want us to look also at prevention.
Prevention.
Prevention. Because when you look at response, we are somehow responding on something that has already happened.
Which you could have prevented.
Yes, which you could have prevented.
Right.
I think parents, guardians, the society should also have time to talk about such issues in their own setting. Let it be in homes. I'm talking for the young people now. Let it be in homes. Let it be some kind of sexual education. Let it be some kind of consequences. And again, the children also, I'm calling them the children because they are still teenagers. The children also, whereas we say children rights, they all should also be children responsibilities.
So there's responsibility much as you have the rights.
Yes.
Right.
The children, it's the responsibility of the children to report such cases, at least to parents. Because a parent who is at home is not going to know what has taken place at school. So it's the responsibility of the child to report that. But all that comes back to at home. How are parents free to their children to create that conducive environment for reporting? For the married couples, let me say, or for the old people, they should also have the capacity to report. They should not be ashamed. Life is more of individual than it would be to the community.
Right. Let me bring in Dr. William. I mean, she talks of the role of the parents, and of course has also spoken a bit about the patriarchal system of the society as far as, you know, looking at the man as the masculine, you know, person in the society. I want to hear your thoughts as well, because at the end of the day, we keep saying, go and report to the doctors or go seek medical attention. But again, the reality is that we still have people who don't trust the doctors. They've that fear that if I go to report to this doctor, you know, maybe he might not believe me. Maybe she may laugh at me and all that. So do you face this kind of thing from the medical practitioner? And how best can this be dealt with to ensure, you know, transparency for people to come and break the silence?
From my own experience, maybe to go back a bit to her comments. In Rwanda, when you look at the system of referral of those all victims of violence, including sexual gender-based violence, when you look at how it is done in Rwanda, I think it is one of the smoothest that I've ever seen in the East African community. Because in Rwanda, we have got up all together. It's no longer cases of rape and gender-based violence, and no longer cases of an institution, a hospital, the doctors. It's a multi-sectorial approach. We have the police, of course, policing the community. We have the people in the community. We have religious leaders. All of them have been sensitized about gender-based violence issues. We have the teachers in schools, in universities. So in Rwanda today, if we have a case of rape and it is not reported, we cannot say that it is due to these people who are trying to hide it. No way, because everybody knows that Rwanda is very sensitive against cases of rape and other cases of violence in the community. I think even when you look at the punishments in Rwanda and the way they are applied and the cases in court, the way they are handled, it gives you hope that Rwanda at one time will come to a stage when the cases of gender-based violence are really minimum, very minimum. Because, like what you said in schools, when you look at schools, the teachers who have tried that kind of rape to students, they are even identified before they go on to rape the students. Because such cases, people are aware. You know, in certain communities, you might find that nobody cares. In Rwanda, it is a different story. Everybody cares about the children at school, because we don't have to say that the parents have got the basic role to watch over their kids. I drop my kids at school, somebody should be responsible for looking after them and protecting them from vultures, because I consider these rape perpetrators like vultures. Someone should have an eye on them, regardless of also their own protection, but they should be able to be protected by the community and the institution, and that's what Rwanda does.
But that's probably where she feels there's a gap, because there's a feeling of it is, if I don't really take care of my kid, the society, the community, the school will take care of.
Of course, the first role goes with the parents. They have the first role. They are the first line of defense, but they are not the overall defense, because what we are seeing today in Rwanda is a multi-sectorial approach against rape victims, even other cases of violence. So what we are saying today in Rwanda, when you look at the way the systems are built, and you look at the way the channels of referral of cases of victims, and when you look at the way government waived any fees or any charges for any victim cases, it's really a beauty to know that we are doing this to really try to fight this, this bad practice in the community. And one of the things that really makes us have hope against GBV cases or gender-based violence cases is the fact that everybody is on board, which is the beauty of it. The church, the teachers, the local community, the police, the army, everybody is on board. And there are even institutions that have been created, like Gender Monitoring Office. These are rare cases that you can find in other countries, where you find that the victims are really supported, reintegrated into the community. But back to what we are saying, that some victims might come later and proclaim or pronounce back years, like a few years ago, 5 or 10 or 12 years, to like the case you were being mentioning. People always have a question mark on such cases. Why report later? Why proclaim later? Because the issue is, does the victim know very well that if you don't come to the doctors to retrieve the evidence of rape, you lose justice.
Right.
And that is the negative side of it.
Yes, but when you say that, doctor, I mean, probably this is the reason why many people are still silent, because maybe it happened many years ago and they're scared of being asked those questions you've just asked.
Yes.
Why are you coming now? You will not have evidence. The case will just be thrown away. And so people say, you know what, let me just keep quiet.
But my question now goes, if you are quiet for such a long period of time and you want to come out, is the social media the best time, the best channel to come out?
Yes. Maybe I've lost hope in the channels that have been mentioned here, and
some of these victims we see, they haven't even come to those channels. They are channels. Even if you start from a higher channel, we can retrieve you from the lowest side up to the community. Some cases are reported directly to the police. The police does investigation in the community. There will always be evidence, because evidence can be of many types. You can have biological evidence, you can have physical evidence, you can even have people who can witness. Witnesses can be also part of the evidence. If you don't have all that, then you cannot say that maybe the social media is the best channel. Personally, I would discourage a rape victim to use social media, because personally, social media cannot resolve the issue. Secondly, it also puts at risk the reporter. You yourself, you can be at risk, because why do you go to the social media where you're not going to find a resolution of your case? Because for sure, maybe the media will talk about it, but how will it end? It will end up nowhere, because first of all, the social media cannot help you provide evidence. The only sources of evidence are those channels that we are talking about.
Florida,
exactly.
Does this worry you? I mean, as a person working with even former, people who are victims, ladies who have gone through this, should channel matter? I mean, should it be a matter of just break the silence? If you want to use social media, if you want to talk to your mother, if you want to talk to the teacher, whoever it is, break the silence. Does the media matter?
What worries me most is, well, we are saying we have the policies, we have a supportive government, supportive environment,
yes.
We have avenues for reporting.
Yes.
My colleague mentioned that when the parents have a role to play, the teachers have a role to play, the community in general have a role to play, but the fact remains that we are still having
the cases.
Unreported cases in the society. So if we go back, where is the problem? And in such, for us, as we are mentioning that people are reporting after 10, 8 years, but there are those who are reporting when the children are as old as 3 years. So I think the person who is reporting after 8 years is equally the person who is reporting after 5 years, at the same time after 3 years. The three categories will not get justice at its best. Apart from maybe the DNA that can be carried out for those who have children, but consider the person also who did not get a child. Even if, how is that person going to get justice?
Right.
So I think, in my own perspective, the victims should have channels, or should be educated on the channels of how to discuss such matters. Because there is this victim, I think doctor may be having more information than I do. There are victims who feel whenever they face such problems, talking about it, regardless of the channels, that means the person will put a little bit justice on the side.
Right.
Regardless of the channels, whether she meets you and says, you know what, Anyangwe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 happened on me.
Yes.
She feels relieved. But you, as a journalist, you're not going to give her justice. Maybe you'll talk about it, and people will discuss, and they'll have suggestions.
And it will end there.
Yes, but in the practical part, the person is not going to get what I'd call direct justice. So I think the most important thing that all actors should think about, if the doctors are there, Profam as a civil society organization, as an umbrella, is there. The government is very supportive on that. The parents, let's say, they are also, why do we still have such cases? And please, even if it was 1, 5, or 5%, I don't think we need to lose any life in that sense. And I believe justice is a basic need.
Right.
Maybe Anangwe, one would think that for sure, if a victim knows that these channels do exist and they decide to use the social media, probably one would think of two things. One of the things is maybe the victim has another objective, which is not actually a true rape case, or that victim has been silent for some other reason and wants to break the silence. But before you go to the social media, there are other many channels that one can use to break the silence, because the silence that is broken to the social media is really should come not the first step. It should maybe be the final step, because the first step is to gather evidence.
But then, doctor,
yes.
Probably people will be arguing and saying the thing that we should be talking about or thinking about is all these institutions, as much as they have opened up those channels that they have currently, they need to also incorporate social media as another avenue of breaking the silence. Instead of judging and saying, you know what, going to social media is not the way to go. You could be saying, wow, we have another channel that we
Yes.
will use, that is social media. If you have any case,
Yes.
throw it there. Our team will just come to your direct mail and
Yes.
follow up.
Yes.
Other than saying that, hey, maybe you have ulterior motives. Why are you
Yes.
using it as the first option?
Yes.
This is something that making people, some people worried, Doctor.
Yeah, for sure. You know, social media, we in Rwanda, I think we are open to the social media, and I think we have nothing to hide about the rape cases and other and other victims of rape, or even other kinds of violences. But one thing I was mentioning is that it's now clear-cut that if someone really a true case of rape, the first step is that you are targeting the perpetrator.
Right.
And if you are targeting the perpetrator, that simply means you want the perpetrator to be charged, to face the charges, to go through the judiciary. But if you want to just to put shame to the perpetrator using the media, I will still stick and say that is not the right channel. Because if you really want to punish the perpetrator, you should follow the channels. And the channels do exist. Probably in a country where the channels do not exist, I would say a victim maybe has the right option to use social media as the first option.
Right.
But if you know very well that in Rwanda, this thing, the lines of referral to victims of violence are really open and functional, I don't see why a victim should use them as the first channel or first option of reporting. Yet, you know very well that if you want to target the perpetrator, not for other reasons, but you want to bring up the perpetrator to justice, you must be able to produce evidence.
Right.
And the social media can come in, I believe it can come in, but not as the first option.
Not as the first option. Florida,
Yeah.
I mean, talk to me about this, because you see, a victim, the whole agenda of a victim in one way or another is to seek justice. It may not matter how. If it is the embarrassment of the perpetrator, the locking up of the perpetrator, the firing of the perpetrator from their workplace. I mean, for some victims, they don't care, but as long as that happens. And so when they decide to say, you know what, I'm going to go on social media because I know probably the other options might not help me get justice, would they be justified to think in that way, that you know what, I don't have the evidence right now, it's many years later, and so if I go to social media, I will be able to raise a storm. And people will start questioning this person. Those who will want to investigate, let them investigate. But for me, I'll have achieved my mission.
I wouldn't rule out the social media. Because sometimes people think when they are traumatized, for example, as I said, they think telling each and every person is the way to go. Equally, somebody could use social media and get justice. People could come out and say, hey, this happened so and so, let's try to do some investigation. Although social media sometimes could create more conflicts. For example, as you said, somebody could have had a person whom they had a long-time relationship, and they separated for one or two reasons, and that person may decide to bring you Anyangwe to social media. And that person will have tarnished your name. The so-called victim in bracket may tarnish another person's name when it's not true. And you know, it takes a very long process to say somebody who has been accused or pointed out to be a suspect, again, to bring back his name, that he is a free person. So, I would say, for the victims, there are other good, let me call them good, channels, let them from the government, let them from the civil society, let them from faith-based organizations, they are there. I think those could be the priorities.
That should be the priority.
Yes, but again, people believe, I wouldn't recommend that. However much, I wouldn't rule it out.
You would not rule it out.
Yes.
Then let's talk about these good channels, you say in quotes. I mean, if we are to raise confidence in people who are out there listening or watching us right now, who want to believe that these channels are actually working, instead of me going on the 180 character or the 280 character on social media to post this, what are the evidence or what are the basic things that you can show from Profem's perspective? You said you have channels, you have the numbers that people should call. How can you prove to people watching us that these channels actually do work? What is it that you can tell them and say, you know what, we have had this number of cases reported through the phone call, and after the phone call, we forwarded these cases to the police. Out of those number of cases, we have 15 which have been prosecuted, and today as we speak, we have 5, perpetrators who are locked up in jail. How can we build confidence on people that these channels do work?
Okay. One thing I can assure you, we don't only look at sexual-related violence.
Yes.
We look even at other types of violence. Mm-hmm. But of course, sexual-related violence is among them. Mm-hmm. One, it also takes different shapes, because there's this child there's this girl who's a school going, for example, who's being pregnant by a neighbor, or a teacher, or any person, mm-hmm. or a motorcyclist. Mm-hmm. We have this woman mm-hmm. who is facing the sexual violence mm-hmm. in her own home. Mm-hmm. We have named them, but we also have women as well as men who are facing instances of economic violence. So, for the case of sexual violence, if somebody calls on the phone and says, I'm Florida, I'm from such and such a place, I have been raped yesterday or today morning, the first thing is, have you gone to the health center?
Do you get these calls?
Yes,
you get
we
them?
do.
Yeah?
We do. Have you gone to the health center? If no, please go to the health center. That's if it's within that time. Because
48 hours. Yes, 48 hours.
If it's beyond that time, you need some other person in authority to guide the person. You say, can you go to your local authority? Can you do you know somebody who is in charge of gender there? So there are many people who can help you. So if the person is still within that time.
Even the police.
Yes. If even the one-stop centers,
yes.
there's the police there. If somebody is still within the range, if she goes to the health center, they are going to generate, not generating, actually recording evidence. That the same evidence she's going to take to the district hospitals. If she gets to the health center, for example, and she does not get the services in the case, then she can call back and say, I'm at this point, but I'm not getting this and this and this. Maybe she's got part of it, but still you have the responsibility of orienting this person to the next level.
Right.
Until she gets to the district hospital.
One stop center.
Then, from the district hospital, if she has generated and documented all the evidence, then she can bring the evidence at our office. Because getting the evidence is one thing, being able to document something that you take to the lawyers is different.
Another difficult thing.
So when she comes to our office, you have to help her. You have the evidence, you have been raped, this is documented. You can go this and this, you can go to the police. As I said, you have a lawyer who is able to document, to support her. She talks, and the lawyer is able to guide her. Another thing, for the people who are facing economic challenges, if we really follow the law, we don't have our own laws, but we help to implement the law. If this is a couple, you are married officially, you may be supposed to get 50-50, and you're still like, me, I have 0, he has 100.
You'll help them be able to
help
deal with
them.
that.
Even if they are no longer, they have divorce.
Right.
Because it happens.
Right. Because I wanted to stick to the sexual-related violence and of course, on the matters of rape. Let me hear from Daktari here. Doctor, we need to really, talk also about, you've heard about the channels.
Yes.
For someone who's, back in the village, or even not just the village, even for some people who are in the city,
yes.
they might translate that as a very rigorous process,
Yes.
a very long process to be able to get justice, report all that. I want you to tell me, what are the procedures that you feel can be dropped and make it easier for people to actually, you know what, I was raped, I have a medical report, this is it.
It has actually, even the time has shortened for the rape victims to report to us. For instance, everybody, the local leaders, the community, they know that the rape victim must arrive at the hospital in less than 48 hours. They know that the victim should not take bath. The victim should not shower. Because once they do that, they're going to lose evidence. They know that the ambulance is ready to take the rape victim like taking a pregnant mother. They know that the ambulance is ready to pick that victim like picking an accident case. So it's not a different way of handling a rape case. It's an urgent matter. Rape victims are urgent matter for Rwanda. Even for the community, the local leaders, as I said, it's a multi-sectorial approach.
Yes.
Everybody knows, the police, some of these victims, they ring up the police, and the police comes immediately, brings them to us, even not using those channels for the health centers or referral, because there is no referral required. What you need to do is just to call, to inform the authorities, to inform the community. From the grassroots, we have got people. We have got the local leaders. We have got someone representing gender monitoring office in the city here in Kigali, who is down at the Mudugudu level. We have got the police within the village council. We have got the local councils. We have got the local leaders there. We have got the church leaders. We have got the opinion leaders. All of them, they know that a rape case is an urgent matter. And when they call the ambulance, as I said, it picks that case like it picks an urgent pregnant woman, like an accident case, and those people come to Isanje One-Stop Center.
And they get facilitated.
And maybe what you don't know is that at the Isanje One-Stop Center, we have the police inside the Isanje One-Stop Center. It's a one-stop center. It means once you enter, you get all the services there. There is someone who comes from the judiciary called the Maj, who is seated there. He comes to see the files that we have generated. There is a police officer who takes in the statement. We have the counselor who is to counsel the victim. We have safe rooms to keep that victim in security as we do investigations. We have a doctor to take the samples. We have the lab technician to take the samples immediately to the lab to check them and see if there is evidence. The evidence we look at are the intercourse evidence, where we have the sperms, we have other things that we look at. We take samples, we take pictures. We have cameras in that one-stop center. We can take pictures of the victim so that we make it very hard for the perpetrator or the suspect to deny any kind of evidence. And you know, like where I come from, in the Western Province, I have seen the people, the local people, coming to us very urgently as rape victims. And these people, when they come to us, when you look at them, you see that they are knowledgeable.
Right.
They know that actually, once they have experienced a rape case, they bring it to the... We have had even cases where the local leaders, where even other people who are not related to the victim, they carry the victim to the hospital for checkup to prove, because in Rwanda, everybody knows that once you are raped, there are channels. And those channels are functional.
Right. Because of time, I want us also to talk about this very difficult form of rape that is hard to break silence on, and that is marital rape. And for many people, I mean, sometimes when you mention this in a gathering of a few people, they laugh and they'll be like, but I married her. You know, she's my wife.
Yeah.
What do you mean marital rape? Oh, he is my husband. What do you mean marital rape?
Yeah.
I mean, they believe that it's conjugal rights. It is my right to have, you know, sexual intercourse with my wife or my husband.
Yeah.
So I want to hear from you, Florida. I mean, how do women or men being raped in marriages break the silence? What should they do? How do they even do that without being ridiculed, without being laughed at?
Actually, that I think that's one of the most difficult issues to report, let me say. Because, as I said from the beginning, we are in a society which is more patriarchal, where we believe that men have more conjugal rights than women. So, if you ever told a man that he raped his wife, he'll bring you things like, I paid the dowry, here's my wife, I was officially wedded in the church, all those stories.
So if you have a woman out there watching us right now,
Yes.
what are the things that you'd advise them to be able to do in order to freely break the silence on what is going on in their home?
Well, the women out there listening to me, I think there is nobody who can fight for your right without you. That's the one thing that we should know. And another thing that we should put a note on is that as the man has the right, you also as a woman have the right. So there are different options. Funny enough, it's even hard for the couple to talk about it. I mean, the man and the woman. The woman telling the man that actually what you are doing is rape. That would be a good starting point. Because, I mean, education is continuous. Actually, I would say, some men could be doing rape in marriage when they are actually not knowing that they are doing rape because of their historical background. And again, if we have grown in an environment where it is always said, I think it's better in Kinyarwanda, but I try to translate it in English, that if a man wanted sex, regardless of the situation you are in, you should be submissive. But I think we should also move from that time to another level. I think even culture grows. We pick the good thing within our culture and leave the bad things within our culture. So women should come and speak up. Speak up. There are women, I would say maybe, let me call them women groups within their setting. Women, it's basically sensitization, I would say. Speak up within their church. I'm talking of the immediate organs that can be supportive. And one thing that you have to know, that kind of rape is, honestly, it happens. We know it happens. I'm sure if you sampled within the 10 women, at least a good number will tell you that they have faced such challenges. Because we also receive such cases at Profam. But the funny part of it, such cases, marriage and rape, come with other issues. They come sometimes with economic issues, with other kind of violence. So let's educate our society. Let's educate our women to speak up.
They have to speak up.
Yes. Let's also, as we have men's movements that talk about the positive masculinity, the role of men in building a peaceful family, a peaceful society. Such organizations will also help us to educate the men
on their role.
Yes, on their role, and even enlightening them that what they are doing is not right.
Right, perfect. And it brings me to the questions that are coming through Twitter, and I'm sure the good doctor wants also to jump in on that particular same question. Of course, we're talking about marital rape and how women facing this, or even men facing this, can break the silence. And Aline says, which brings me to my previous question on how well people know what rape is. And in this case, marital rape, how do you prove this? You know, because one, you know, probably your sexual activity is usually rough. So the man would say, those marks that the doctor said were out of that incident, that is usually what we do. Yeah. You know, if there's proof of penetration, say, that's my wife. I actually do this. So as a doctor, how do you prove marital rape did take place?
Yeah, well, first of all, we need to understand what is rape. Because we are not all of us at the same page.
Right.
Especially the men are not at the same page to understand what is rape. And normally we know that rape is unconsented sex. And that's what people think. But when you go in the deep analysis of what rape is all about, is anything that requires sex that someone doesn't consent. So what we are saying here is that as doctors, once we consider rape between married couples, we consider it as any other rape. Because we don't only look at rape from the outside world or people who are not married.
Right.
A person who is married can also rape. So what we do, normally what we do, is to educate. We educate the couple, and we see if there's no another motive. Because some people can use sex as a weapon. You know it very well. Some men can use sex, or women can use sex as a weapon to torture or incriminate somebody. So what we do, we try to talk to them, educate them, and then counsel them. Because counseling is one of the biggest part of marriage life. A life without counseling. But the doctors are not the only ones who do the counseling. We have the church doing counseling, as she was saying. The local community can also do counseling. Other families can also do counseling. And they can even make other couples understand better. Also, police does counseling. If such cases come, we handle them with ultimate consciousness. Because such cases can even lead to breakage of marriage. And you know, in Rwanda, the family is the smallest unit of community, of the population. So what we don't want is to break those families. Right. But what we do as doctors, we talk to them, we educate them, we provide peer groups that can help other families to make some men understand. The most difficult part of it is when men do it under the influence of either alcohol or drugs. And this becomes a big problem. If a man comes drunk and wants to just climb and, you know, have sex, then that is very difficult to explain if someone has another influence or motive of providing pain or insulting or sometimes torturing the partner. But what we do normally is education and counseling.
Education and counseling.
Yeah.
We have only 2 minutes to go, and I want us to really use them very wisely. I want to hear your closing remarks on this issue of breaking the silence. I know we might not have an impact today immediately, but I'm sure people will start coming out in their ways that they feel comfortable in. Yeah. I want to hear from you, Florida, in your closing remarks. Where do we go from here? We have people who have said, I'm going to use whichever channel I want to use, but I want to break the silence. How do we ensure that more people feel encouraged and not silenced in one way or another from coming out and breaking the silence?
Well, I wish to tell the people listening to me outside there that the channels that we said are existing, if you don't feel comfortable with one channel, you can try the second one.
Right.
Because in one way or another, you will get to the line of justice. And that's, I think, even the victims, even us who are actors in the area, that's the main thing that we want.
Right.
If your rights are violated, you must access justice.
You must access justice.
That's the main point. And mind you, it's a human right concern. And again, another thing.
Very briefly, yes.
Yes, very briefly. Another thing is every level, let's accelerate our action. Every person. Let's be the community. Let's be the school. Let's be the NGOs that work. Let's be the health centers. Let's accelerate, strengthen our services. Let me call it.
Right.
Let everybody do what he or she is supposed to do.
Right. Dr. very briefly in closing.
I would say that rape is a social evil. And it's not only a social evil, but also it's a human crime. It's crime against humanity. And I think what I would tell the people out there is that they could use these channels. We have them. They are functional. They are rapid. they are functional. They provide justice. They lead you to justice.
Right.
So I would just tell the people, use the channels, and then also be conscious that even mentioning about the rape case to implicate someone, you must have evidence.
You must have evidence.
Yes.
Perfect. I'll just let you stay there as we conclude this particular conversation that I actually promised will be a two-part conversation. Definitely, it's a conversation that actually will be able to continue on next week on Sunday. Today, what we wanted is just to start off the conversation as far as these issues are concerned. Then next week on Sunday, we'll be looking at the justice part. We'll be having the police and other players right here on the program. So keep tweeting. We will not be able to read every tweet that you have tweeted tonight, but I want us to have this conversation going on, even if I've not read it here. Let's keep talking to each other. Let's break the silence. Use the hashtag InFocusRW so that we can be able to mobilize all of us together right there. Thank you so much for being with us. It's the first show of the year, and we hope to have more of this right here on the program. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.
Mirongo inani na gatatu kw'ijana by'abanyarwanda bangiza ibidukikije bacana amakara n'inkwi. Mu gukemura iki kibazo twiyemeje guteza imbere ibikorerwa mu Rwanda, ari nako turengera ibidukikije, cyane cyane amashyamba, dukoresha amakara ya briquette akorwa mu ibarizo. Reka ngurugero rwiza, uzi ko iyo ukoresheje amakara ya briquette bihendutse inshuro 3 ugereranyije n'uwakoresheje ubundi buryo nko gucana inkwi, bikaba bihendutse inshuro 2 ugereranyije n'uwakoresheje amakara asanzwe. Nawe birakureba iwawe mu rugo, amagereza, ibigo by'amashuri, inkambi z'impunzi n'ahandi.